Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. One of the big headlines of the week has been the increase in the anticipated number of deaths related to COVID-19. And this is coming as many of us have experienced weeks and weeks of social distancing guidelines. So why suddenly a projected increase in the number of deaths? And why does that matter? That's what we're going to be talking about today. This is all related to scientific modeling. We have talked more about scientific models related to this story than really at any other point in my entire journalism career. So if you're wondering what's up with all these models, you are not alone. You should know that there are many different models used by a variety of different researchers. And what they're doing is using the best available data out there, plugging it into an algorithm that they've developed and trying to predict the future. In many ways, it's like a weather forecast. Forecasters are using the best data out there and trying to anticipate what does this storm look like when it comes across your city or town. As you know, with weather forecasts, there is an element of unknown. There are a lot of variables that can affect the data. And so you should know that about these models. Yes, they are using fact, real data, but they are also using assumption, and they're trying to do the best that they can. We're just going to leave it at that. The model that I like to look at is the one often mentioned by the White House Task Force, and it's from the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation out of the University of Washington. Now, there's been a lot of debates about the accuracy of these models, and what I would say to that is that these are an important part of telling the story about COVID-19 in America, but there's debate about how much credence we should give them. And that debate will be ongoing. That said, this particular model is very easy to navigate. And one of the things I want to do with Smarter News is connect you directly to the source, because it's important that you see what everyone's talking about in front of you. Listen, there's a lot of smart people out there and there's a lot of great journalists, but you're also really smart. And you can look at this source yourself and really have an idea, well, what are some of the best and the brightest looking at in the nation as they're developing the policies or the laws that we're trying to follow? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step away from the camera, record the model and how it works, and talk you through it so that you're able to actually go ahead and play with it yourself. I'm going to do this on my cell phone because I think that's really the way that we're all looking at everything these days. So it's going to be a little smaller than normal, but I think it'll also be helpful. One thing I want you to know about this, the lead researcher said the reason why his model is now predicting more deaths related to COVID-19 is that one of the data points they use is cell phone data. And they're watching that Americans are now suddenly moving around a little bit more than they were several weeks ago when the stay-at-home orders were pretty uniformly in place. They're taking that into the equation and they're saying the more you move, the more likely it is that you're putting yourself at risk of contracting or transmitting COVID-19. That's being worked into the models, and it's one of the reasons why we're seeing a sudden increase in the projected number of deaths. We'll get to more of that in a moment, but let's get to the models.
So this is what it looks like on the home page as you visit the link that I'm going to provide you on the website. You'll notice that there's a menu pull down that says United States of America. When you tap on that, it actually brings you to different states. So you can actually check out your state or anyone else's. The first data point you're looking at is deaths per day. And this is actually tracking just that. They're plugging in real-time data. And if you move the bar, you can zero in on a particular day. As you're looking out, again, it's just a prediction. This is not the source I mostly use for deaths per day because often the data is lagging. So it's interesting to look at, but it's not something I reference all the time. Now, this is the screen that a lot of folks are looking at this week. You see the number of 134,000 COVID-19 deaths. Last week, it was about half that. And so this is where all the attention is coming. You know, you look back at the beginning of March, where we had nearly 0 deaths in America. And the graph really tells a story. And just a reminder, this is only going to August 4th. It's not for the rest of the year. So that's something to keep in mind. Check out this next one. It's hospital resource use. It's showing different lines of the beds needed, ICU beds needed, or ventilators needed. And this is something that has been used by healthcare professionals to try to figure out if the storm does come to my city, do I have the resources I need for a worst case scenario? This is one of the things that officials were looking at to try to prepare just in case that worst case scenario actually arose. So let's actually get to a particular state. I'm just going to go ahead and select California because it's close to the top. And now you can see how the model is behaving differently for different states. What researchers are doing is taking into consideration social distancing. And you can see for Californians, look how much their mobility dropped when social distancing guidelines were put in place. Because those guidelines haven't changed, you can see that researchers are considering that they're going to stay uh, less mobile than previously, and that's going to affect how the virus behaves in that state. This is also interesting when you look at infections and testing. That blue line is the total tests being administered, and that yellow line is confirmed infections. The reason why this is important is you can see that it's still very rare for you, if you are tested for COVID-19, that you're testing positive. That said, you could be tested too late or too early in your infection, and maybe you're being missed. But we do know this, that about 1 in 5 people tested for COVID-19 actually test positive. And as we get further down, you can see a familiar pattern: deaths per day, total deaths by August 4th, and then hospital resource use. Check out that purple line at the top. Those are all hospital beds available. And you can see that California is way underneath that, which is actually a positive. It means that they're not at risk of suddenly needing more hospital beds, at least not for now. So now let's move to Texas, where I am, just to show you how social distancing guidelines is reflecting something different. So in Texas, check out the mobility in Texas. It dropped like California, but we know that the governor recently relaxed some of the policies, and you can see that the mobility of Texans is going up. And that's one reason why researchers are updating their projections nationwide.
One thing I want to tell you, and this is so critical, the lead researcher of the model I just showed you said one data point that they don't have and they can't consider is what happens when we start moving around but wear masks. There's no good data on that because we've never done it before. So what happens when a percentage of the people that are moving around actually wear masks? How does that impact infection rate and potentially deaths? I want to show you where you can find all this information easily on our website. I love you guys visiting us on social media, but if social media goes away tomorrow, I want us to stay connected. So in our Fast Facts section at Smarter News, I put all this information on modeling. It has this video. It also has links to all the models so you can play around with it yourself and impress your family and friends. Why not? So it's all there for you. If you have any questions and comments, let me know. And I'm so curious, what do you guys think about the mask factor? And are you seeing people walking around with masks more often? I felt like I saw a lot more a few weeks ago, and now people are being a little bit more relaxed. And I'm curious, how that's making you feel. Let me know. And as always, more on smarternews.com. Have a great day, guys.